"Daddy's under the floor," the little girl whispered, pointing toward the center of the living room. Her tiny voice sliced through the stillness like a knife, instantly drawing the attention of all 5 officers in the room. Their heads turned in unison toward the polished hardwood beneath her small hand. None of them moved. No one spoke. The air thickened with disbelief and a creeping sense of dread. What had begun as a standard welfare check had just taken a sharp, unexpected turn. James Miller, a 38-year-old father and husband, hadn't been seen in over a week. No responses to calls, no texts, no signs of life. Neighbors had started to complain about a strange odor, one describing it as something sour like rot. His wife answered the door calmly and explained he had walked out after an argument. He needed space, she'd shrugged, her tone flat, her eyes distant. The house had been too pristine, no clutter, no warmth. Their 3-year-old daughter, Lily, hadn't said a word until that moment. She sat quietly on the wooden floor, dressed in a white cotton dress, surrounded by untouched toys. Her soft blonde curls bounced as she tilted her head and looked directly at the officers. "Daddy's sleeping under there," she repeated, her voice so calm it was unnerving. One of the officers, Sergeant Hayes, knelt beside her and gently asked what she meant. Without hesitation, she pointed at the floor again and said her mother told her not to say anything. She added, with eerie simplicity, that sometimes Daddy knocked from underneath. Everyone went still. And then they heard it. A soft thump. Faint but unmistakable. At first they thought it was the house settling. But then it came again. 1, 2, 3 slow knocks. Hayes's heart dropped. He called for the radar scanner. Within minutes, ground-penetrating equipment confirmed what they feared. A hollow space beneath the floorboards where none should exist. It didn't align with the house's plans. It wasn't a crawl space. It wasn't part of the basement. It was something else entirely. Without hesitation, they began ripping up the wood. The boards cracked, dust filled the air, and Lily didn't flinch. She just sat there, watching with the solemn patience of someone who already knew the truth. Then the horror revealed itself. Less than 2 feet beneath the floor, they found James Miller, gagged, his eyes wide, barely conscious but alive. His face was covered in bruises, his body twisted awkwardly in a shallow hand-dug pit. He gasped violently as air rushed over him, coughing uncontrollably, squinting at the sudden brightness. Paramedics stormed in. Behind them, the officers stormed the kitchen and found the wife. She didn't run. She didn't resist. She just watched it all unravel as they slapped the cuffs around her wrists. The story was horrifying. She had drugged him during dinner, beaten him until he stopped moving, then dragged him into the living room and sealed him beneath the floor while their daughter watched cartoons. Her plan had been meticulous: erase him quietly, wait a few weeks, and file for the life insurance. No body, no questions. A perfect crime, if not for Lily. As James was rushed onto a stretcher, barely able to breathe, Lily toddled after him and reached for his hand. "I didn't tell at first because Mommy said it was a game," she whispered, "but I missed your bedtime stories." And for the first time since the boards were pulled back, James wept. In the days that followed, the story exploded. Media outlets swarmed the street. Headlines called it a miracle. Doctors later said that if they'd waited even a few more hours, James wouldn't have made it. The cavity was poorly ventilated. The physical trauma was severe. But what stunned the public even more than the crime was the bravery of a toddler who barely understood what death meant, but who trusted her instincts enough to speak out anyway. More truths unraveled. James had been planning to leave his wife for months. Friends later admitted he had confided in them about her escalating abuse and emotional manipulation, but they hadn't realized how dangerous it was. He had stayed because he didn't want to leave Lily behind. "I'll take every hit if it means she gets to feel loved," he once told a co-worker. He was building a custody case. He never got the chance to finish it. During the trial, prosecutors played home video from the week before the attack. In it, James reads a story to Lily while she snuggles into his side. At one point, she looks up and says, "You're my hero, Daddy." That clip, just 30 seconds long, would become the symbol of the case, because in the end, she became his hero. Weeks later, the officers who responded to that call returned to visit Lily. Hayes brought her a teddy bear in a tiny police uniform. He knelt again in front of her, softer now, and said, "You saved your daddy, Lily. You're the bravest little girl I've ever met." She smiled up at him, gently squeezing the bear. "I just listened to the floor," she replied. And sometimes that's all it takes, listening, believing, and refusing to silence even the smallest voices. Because under that floor wasn't just a man, it was the truth. And it was a child's voice that brought it back to the surface. Today, James and Lily live far from that nightmare. He never misses a bedtime story, and when she asks if monsters are real, he always replies, yes. But sometimes, little angels defeat them. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment where are you watching from. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a karma in the comments below.